To answer the two questions, are we profitable and is this job or product profitable, managers need to assign costs to products and jobs. Chapter 4 extends the absorption costing approach we used back in Chapter 2 in our job order costing environment to a process costing system. Process cost systems are used by companies that make many units of a single homogeneous product. That is, when one unit of output is indistinguishable from any other unit of output. And because the units of output are identical, the company will probably calculate an average cost per unit. An example of a company that may consider a process costing system is Weyerhaeuser, a manufacturer of paper products. When we think of paper manufacturing, we generally think about the continuous production of a single roll of paper that may eventually be cut into sizes needed by customers. Other companies that would benefit from process costing systems are Reynolds Aluminum and Coca-Cola. Certainly the desire of all three of these companies is to make each unit of output consistent with the quality standards established for the company as a whole. Coca-Cola bottled in California should taste identical and basically be the same product as that bottled in New York City. If we want to think about companies that use a process costing environment, we can think really of any company that supplies a product to Walmart. Walmart sells hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of nearly identical products. So we know as a manufacturer, we are in a process costing environment if our product is sold in a Walmart. Both job order and process costing systems assign material, labor, and overhead costs to products, and they provide a mechanism for computing unit product costs. Both systems use the same manufacturing counts, including manufacturing overhead, raw materials, work in process, finished goods, and cost of goods sold. The flow of costs through the manufacturing accounts is basically the same in both systems. Nonetheless, there is a key fundamental difference between process and job order costing systems. Job order cost systems trace and apply manufacturing costs to jobs. One work in process account is often used to accumulate the cost for all jobs, and individual job cost sheets serve as a subsidiary ledger as a way to track costs for each job. Process costing systems trace and apply manufacturing costs to departments rather than jobs, and a separate work in process account is maintained for each processing department. As previously noted, both job order and processing costing systems have similar cost flows. The primary difference is that in a job costing system, all costs flow into a single work in process account, while in a process costing system, costs are traced and applied to multiple departments. Tracking total costs for discrete jobs is rather straightforward, as jobs are either in work in process, or completed and in finished goods, or once they've been completed, they typically don't stay in finished goods too long. They're shipped to a customer. So we can transfer costs based on our job cost sheets from work in process to finished goods to cost of goods sold as jobs move through the factory. For completed jobs, we can calculate unit costs by dividing total job costs by the total number of units in a particular job. On the other hand, in a process costing system with the continuous production of a homogeneous product, we have a more difficult time in calculating the total units used in the denominator of our average cost calculation. This is because at any time there will be partially completed units in Department A, partially completed units in Department B, and fully completed units will only exist in finished goods. So to calculate an average cost per unit, we would take our total cost and divide by an unknown number of units. This brings us to the thought of equivalent units of production. Since we cannot calculate an actual cost per unit, but must instead calculate a cost per equivalent unit, we will do this by dividing the total cost for that period by the equivalent units of production, which it takes into account both partially completed and fully completed units produced during a particular period. So our cost per equivalent unit will simply be our cost for the period divided by an equivalent number of units produced in a particular period of time. After we have calculated the cost per equivalent unit, we can allocate the manufacturing costs incurred during the period, remember direct material, direct labor, and overhead, to either finished goods or ending work in process inventory. We do this by multiplying the number of equivalent units transferred to finished goods by our cost per equivalent unit, and by multiplying the number of equivalent units left in ending work in process inventory by the cost per equivalent unit in ending work in process inventory. By allocating our manufacturing costs to individual units, we can begin to answer our two basic questions. Are we profitable? And is this job or product profitable?